Good morning, Mr. Griffith, and welcome.
Hi, good morning. It's always my pleasure. Good morning to you
Right.
and to your many
And
viewers.
always a pleasure to have conversations with you. Now, we know that you are passionate about fighting crime. We know that your resume in terms of positions in fighting crime is long and wide and expands within the police and army, commissioner of police, minister of national security. So you have that measure of experience. And also we've spoken to your brilliant mind. And so we know that you do have the ideas and the strategies that you'd like to implement to fight crime on the island. However, we do know that there's a strain where that is concerned, and so some can call it an olive branch. You put in an offer to assist the Prime Minister to help fight crime in Trinidad and Tobago with the escalation that we've been seeing in recent past, and that was denied. And so we're having this conversation now. What is your position? In your opinion, why was this offer denied? You did say that you are disappointed, but you are not surprised. Why are you not surprised?
Well, yeah, and good morning again. Because the previous Prime Minister, Patrick Manning, said it. He actually understood the character of Keith Rowley when he said that when someone cannot have his way, he will see hate, he will see malice, he will see animosity, he will see somebody totally out of control. And it's the same thing that's happened here. So I didn't do this to expose to the country the character of Keith Rowley. I did it because I will always be a patriot before that of a Prime Minister or a politician. And unfortunately, Keith Rowley has again showed the character that he's not putting the country first. I think it is disappointing that political leaders refuse to communicate. I mean, even Fali Augustine, he has actually blocked me on his phone. And I am continuing to send things to explain to him what can be done to assist in securing Tobago. You will block me for that? So, I mean, Keith Rowley is not the only one. I think it is really rather disappointing that political leaders, persons who may have the ability to serve citizens, which is what politicians are. Our job is nothing more than to be a servant to help people. And your thing is, listen, I have reached that position. I don't want to talk to you. So Keith Rowley will block Gary. Fali Augustine will block Gary. Rowley might block Kamala. I mean, it is so childish. It is so immature. If you want to block people, then why bother to take the position in the first place? So the reason why, again, I understood Keith Rowley's how he will operate, but I still had to do the right thing, the honorable thing. I will have to swallow my pride and put country first. It is amazing, absolutely amazing, that not 100% of the country will have thought that this is the right thing to do. But again, sometimes we are so politicized. People were actually upset about me doing this. Even granted that would have been made main media house in Trinidad, they actually had 94% of the country supported my stance on trying to offer services, not to Keith Rowley, but to the country. But to that 6% and those people who are concerned, tell me something. If it is that I have that capability that may have assisted just to probably just reduce one less murder, one less kidnapping, one less home invasion by systems I could have recommended that might have prevented that, you have a problem with that? And that is why when I say that evil is invading our country, that the nation is drowning in blood, there are people who seem to benefit from this. There are people who seem to be so evil. You have to be evil to be upset by me offering my services. Whether you like me or not is irrelevant. Whether I like Keith Rowley or not is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is that the government has totally collapsed, especially as it pertains to national security. 3 years ago, public trust and confidence in the police was 59%. Now it is 8%. 3 years ago, confidence in the commissioner was 76%. Now it's less than 10%. 3 years ago, it was the highest reduction in violent crime in 17 years. Now it is the highest spike in crime. 3 years ago, crime was the number 4 concern in the economy, in the country. Now it is the number 1 concern. And we had over 100 policies that provided the deterrent, reduced the product of opportunity. Citizens felt safer. We had that rapid response, that high visibility. All that is gone. If it is that I can show that this can be done to assist, not just in Trinidad, but also Tobago, with many of the things that I would have done, and you as the leader in Tobago will block me, and you as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago would not want my support because we have a different political party card, I think it is very unfortunate, it is very childish, it is very immature, and it is not becoming of politicians.
Mr. Griffith, we can't have this conversation without speaking about, because we're coming to try to get to the bottom of why you are being denied the opportunity, and you're saying it's because of the political difference, maybe he doesn't like you, a personal issue or whatever. But we also have to ask, remember that there was this accusation about your distribution of FULs, and so there was an investigation going on or something to that matter. Do you think that that has contributed to the decision that the Prime Minister made to deny you the opportunity to assist in helping?
Total stupidity, total ignorance, because right now there are about 50 matters being investigated on the police service. So that means you should fire Ulla Christopher or not speak to her. That is probably the dumbest perception anyone could ever have. So because there's an investigation, that means that a commissioner, you should not get the help of it. There are about 100 investigations I took over from Stephen Williams. That means that Stephen Williams should be blacklisted. There are over 100, probably 50 to 100, I think, going on right now in the police service. The Police Complaint Authority get more reports of police abuse, of wrongful arrests, of police committing criminal acts than ever before. So does that mean that Ulla Christopher should be fired? In fact, she was given a good grade. So the audacity of that ridiculous is mind-boggling, especially as it that not once any of these things were directed to me. So again, we speak about allegations. What allegation? Who reported a crime? What evidence? What witness? This country has stopped being this banana republic perception because a politician said something, because Rowley said something. The man has lied constantly on this firearm situation. And Fitzgerald Hines, they lied and said that people were bringing in component parts to change from semi-automatic to automatic. They lied. Fitzgerald Hines then called the name of a firearm dealer to say he didn't have his files. He lied. He had to apologize last week. They then said that persons with criminal records were getting firearms. They lied. They then said people were getting firearms in a day. They lied. So they have lied constantly, and then you're saying, so if I decide to say Keith Rowley is a drug lord, and then somebody just makes up something, that makes it automatic that person should be blacklisted. So we have lost all aspects in our culture of persons bringing evidence or whatever. And the same thing is happening right now with Foster Cummins. You did an investigation, you can't find anything on him, and you refuse to close the case. This situation of, it is only in a banana republic that politicians will hire civilians, turn them into investigators, pay them big money, and then the civilians will give you a report, and then you read it out and say, look what this man has done. And people will believe that. So 3 years later, after all of this investigation and allegations you spoke about, not one person has been convicted, not one person charged, not one person arrested. So what issue are you speaking about? Not one person has been found guilty or charged for anything as it pertains to these investigations. So the audacity and the stupidity of trying to state that an allegation that has never even provided anything. The only person arrested, by the way, was a law-abiding citizen who was kidnapped in Barbados based on a minister giving approval to the police to go to Barbados to kidnap him. That is how desperate they were. Same thing happened with the SSA. You fired an SSA director and the man did nothing wrong. He never broke any law. He never committed any crime. But that is how PNM operates. You want to get rid of the Auditor General, the Commissioner of Police, the Director of the SSA, Head of the Integrity Commission, Head of the Central Bank. All of these people, Head of the Industrial Court. The list goes on and on. And you don't see that as dictatorship because, so Rowley says it is alleged. But this is not an Ian Allen show. This is a country we are trying to run. So a civilian who's a prime minister says something, no evidence, no witnesses, no data, no documents, nothing. And because he says that, it becomes a concern for 3 years. We have to stop being so blinded to follow politicians like sheep and start looking at the facts.
Mr. Griffith, as you're talking about politicians and the fact that there's a political, probably vendetta, I know the NTA is getting ready for elections, and you've mentioned in previous interviews that should you become Prime Minister, so of course you are back into politics, and of course you are eyeing that position. If you are successful in that, how are you going to manage that position to ensure, one, good relationships among politicians? Because you're saying now that politics should not be involved in the way we govern and the way we manage the society. So how are you going to manage those relationships with persons who are not in your political party? And how are you going to use your resources to ensure that crime is under control?
Yeah, good question. And again, it goes... The reason why it is that there's been measured success under my watch as Minister of National Security and Commissioner of Police is not because I'm an anti-crime expert. It has to do with leadership. It is that type of leadership that the country needs. The leadership of putting country first before that of politics. And that is what I intend to do, using those principles of that LAMP model of good leadership, accountability, measuring performance, and good management. Those are the things, when you use that, you can improve every aspect in our public service. So when it says you see our public service collapsing, is because of lack of leadership to make sure their performance is being measured, making sure that they are accountable, leadership by example, managing properly. And you put those principles, it is going to transform everything, not just national security, but health, education, the economy, sport, social development. And that is what is required. Likewise, because of what I just spoke about, the reason why it was the highest reduction in violent crime in 17 years, just 3 years ago, and now it is the highest increase in crime. The reason why it is that public trust in the police was 59% 3 years ago, and now it is 8%. The reason why that the Commissioner of Police support was 76% then, and now it is less than 10%. All of these things, it has to do with leadership, not because of Gary Griffith, but because you have someone as a leader then that was willing to embrace persons regardless of their political affiliation. I had 21 persons working alongside me with experts in the field, whether being in charge of management, financial, cybercrime, technology, all of these different things. And when I brought them in, I didn't want to know what party card you had. By doing that, I brought the best persons available, and that is what transformed the police service for people automatically to move from 14% to 59%, from being the least trusted to being the most trusted in the public service. And that is what is required. My intention is to be in a government that I'm not going to look for the person who has a blue party card, but I don't care about your party card. I just want the best person available to deal with national security, health, education, social development, sport. We have a minister of sport who has never kicked a line. We have a minister of communication who has never once communicated in several years. We have a minister of finance who can't even balance a simple budget. So we have a minister of national security who doesn't even know his role and function. He said his role is not to secure citizens. So that is what we have endured. We have a prime minister who's chair of the National Security Council with no training, qualification, or expertise in national security. The man is a geologist. And that is because he doesn't know anything about national security, but he makes decisions to secure you in this country, and that is why we are failing. So what I want is to make sure I get the best minds available, regardless of your political affiliation. I would like as well even state boards, which is the biggest avenue for corruption. We can actually reduce over $5 billion, I think, in corruption and mismanagement, bad investment, because we put square pegs in wrong holes because of the party card you had. So because I will pull my chair, I will pull your chair when you sit down in a political meeting, I will give you a state board position. 90% of the people on state boards have no training, qualification, or experience in that field of the state board that they're in. We're supposed to have a criteria to say, for you to be in this state board, you must have the following requirements. We don't have that. So we put all kind of people, because of their party card being close to the political leader of the party that gets into government, put them in a position to decide how taxpayers are going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars, and all of the persons in the state board are solely selected by political affiliation, which is an avenue for corruption. My intention is to put at least 10% of all state board members to be members of the opposition, to put checks and balances to prevent that type of mismanagement, incompetence, and corruption. That is my intention.
Mr. Griffith, and in closing, there's one question I really want to ask. When someone hears the name Gary Griffith, what do you want them to think?
Trust. That is it. Nothing more than trust. You see, if people trust politicians, it is going to do a lot. The reason why there was a massive reduction in crime is because the citizens, they had trust in me. It was 89% of the country wanted me to remain as commissioner or had no concern. Even Keith Rowley, he amended the law for me to remain. I didn't want to stay. I was ready to go. I didn't renew my contract. So trust is important. We do not trust politicians. Because as politicians, we wouldn't trust the police service. Because we don't trust the justice system, we're not going to give information to assist in pinpointing criminals. That is what happens now. We need to start trusting politicians. I intend to show that I have the capability, the character, and being God-fearing enough for you to trust me. And that is what happened. When we had that 482 Gary, hundreds of lives were saved because I was getting information that of people will call, there's no such thing as a perfect crime. They will call to let me know. I will immediately call the Special Operation Response Team that was also shut down, as well as the Emergency Response Patrol, the Rapid Response Unit, the Community Comfort Patrol, the E999, the Operational Command Center, the Commissioner's Command Center. Everything they shut down because of bad mind. I am asking the country to have trust in me that I can be able to make Trinidad and Tobago safe again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Griffith.